I'm all for companies doing their best to be a force for good, and I applaud efforts companies like Sky and many others have made when it comes to initiatives like removing plastic. However, a certain company seems to be taking their quest for good a little far. WeWork, a co-working company with some 200,000 members and 6,000 staff, have decided to ban meat. Yes, from now on, citing environmental reasons, they will no longer be providing meat at any events and will not pay for meat in employee expenses. Sure, serve me my drink in a non-disposable cup, give me recycled hand towels and metal cutlery, but telling me what to eat? Sorry, WeWork, but for me, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, there's a moment, I agree with you. There's a moment when you say, hang on, I am an individual, I'm entitled to make these decisions for myself. I mean, I live with someone who doesn't eat meat at all. Increasingly, my kids don't eat meat. Increasingly, I feel like a pariah to sit and sort of get a steak and cook it for myself. And I do feel that there's a fundamental change coming on. But I agree with you. I don't think someone should say to you, no, you can't have this. I'm your employer. You can't have this.
Yeah, I think it's terrible.
But to be fair, what they do say, I'll show you what they do say is they say that this policy will save more than 445 million pounds of carbon dioxide emissions, 16.6 billion gallons of water, and more than 15.5 million animals. Now, I don't quite get the third one. I mean, those animals won't be born if they're not going to be eaten, because that's why they're bred. But we're always, governments, companies, and everybody. You're always weighing up, aren't you, the rights of the individual versus what you consider for the good of society.
You're involved in businesses. Would you ever tell your employees you can't eat meat, or I won't pay for meat and expenses?
No, but I think they're perfectly entitled to say when we're organising an event.
Yeah.
For our staff, we don't supply meat. I think that's perfectly valid.
I think you're being unfair. I mean, that's what they're doing. So they're not saying if you work for us, you are never allowed to eat meat.
They won't pay for it.
They're saying we will not use our money to pay for you to eat meat.
That's discrimination.
A business is entitled to decide what its expenses policy is going to be. I mean, you're lucky you get lunch on expenses.
Yeah, but isn't it
How many
discrimination
positions still do that? It's not a religious or ethnic group, is it?
But it's still discrimination.
You are of the liberal left.
I am. I'm not saying we should. The government should ban meat. Oh, please. This is a private company.
Listen to me. How can you tolerate such intolerance?
It's not intolerant.
It is.
It's
intolerant
saying
of somebody who likes a steak or a chicken or a lamb.
There is no right to have lunches on expenses paid for by your employer.
What gives you...
That's something that
No, there's a right to be treated equally. That's
they're treating all their staff equally.
No, they're not.
They are. They're saying you all can't eat meat on expenses. That's equality.
I ran a company like that where they used to joke about us being an equal opportunity employer because we treated everybody equally badly.
Yeah, fair enough. It's not my ideal employer, but how is that going to impact different groups disproportionately?
Look, I'll tell you how it's going to impact.
Which is what discrimination.
Let me use a language that I think you will understand, right? There are, indeed. There are. Look, this works.
Don't even try.
This works in countries where pescatarianism and vegetarianism has become a cultural phenomenon. This chap, the founder of this company, sitting in his Silicon Valley home, he's about to build a multi-million-dollar mansion on a mountaintop in Utah. You know,
these people buying big houses
flown into him, right? And on a carbon footprint, by the way, in that mountaintop, he's going to have sushi flown into him and have all these vegetables flown in. Meanwhile, I imagine he operates in Mexico. I imagine he operates in, less well-developed countries where culturally and financially they cannot afford the sort of diet that he, on his high mountain, is pontificating over.
No,
and therefore, it is a level. To use your language, it's a level of Western cultural colonization and imperialism.
Nice
That's
try.
what it is.
Nice try.
It's true.
The point is, WeWork is paying for the food. This isn't about...
it's discrimination.
No, because when they go home, they still buy whatever they want.
There's got to be a difference between...
They're not paying themselves.
There's got to be a difference.
The company is paying.
So if they can't afford meat...
There's got to be a difference between the company picnic, when the company is entitled to provide whatever food it wants to provide, and, say, expenses. Someone's flown somewhere, has gone out for dinner. Surely they're entitled to choose what they want to eat.
Of course, nobody
don't know where you work. I don't work somewhere where people pay for me to go and have dinner. So that's a luxury as far as I'm
concerned. You've never expensed a meal?
Yeah, but
The Guardian.
Have you been to The Guardian?
No, I try to avoid it.
The Guardian, don't get me started.
Right, hold on, we need to...
I mean, I don't...
I mean, it's just talking nonsense. We've all had experience on expense. Right, let's just clarify.
I was getting you to be really balanced on this topic, by the way, but you're all being so unreasonable.
You seem to...
Hang on, we just need to clarify. We just need to clarify, we do not know the provenance of the sushi enjoyed by this particular gentleman or how it's supplied, so we just want to make that aware. And we need to see what the WeWork co-founder, Miguel McKelvey, says about this. Quotes, new research indicates that avoiding meat is one of the biggest things an individual can do to reduce their personal environmental impact, even more than switching to a hybrid car. This policy only applies to events paid for by WeWork. Members and employees are welcome to bring in meat for meals, and members are welcome to serve meat at events they host. Well, I know what I'm doing. I'm setting up a barbecue in the car park. They
have an annual festival, right? Members' festival. It's £309 for a ticket. And you go along, there's music and there's food included. If I go to a festival, I want a cheeseburger and chips. When I get there, that's my lunch of choice.
Beer. Well, that sounds like cultural imperialism to imagine, because if you go to Japan, they won't be giving you... When did I use... I haven't mentioned cultural imperialism.
They've made it perfectly clear to you that you're not going to get that, so you won't pay...
Do you know what? I would expect them.
Yes, do what you like. I don't care. But don't tell a bloke or a woman if they spent all day flying halfway around the world, they can't have a bacon sandwich.
To retreat a bit from my hyperbole, it is true that meat eating leaves a huge impact on the environment. I acknowledge...
I've got some stats for you. I've got some stats.
And actually,
let me give you the stats.
I want to acknowledge the mea culpa. I want to acknowledge that actually, as a meat eater, I am more responsible than a vegetarian or a pescatarian for damage.
Let me just give you the stats.
I wish I didn't eat meat, but I can't stop eating it.
18% of calories consumed come from meat and dairy. So 18% of our calories, but 83% of farmland and 60% of agriculture's greenhouse gases.
Do you know what?
The problem with that for me, and I'm not vegan now, but I was vegan for years, and I was a raw food vegan as well.
What are you now?
I am now mainly vegan, but I occasionally not.
I bet you were cheap, though, weren't you?
It's not cheap. It's very expensive, which is one issue I do have, and I kind of agree with you on that. And also, things like nuts require a huge amount of water. So the idea that kind of nut milks instead of dairy milk is really environmentally friendly. And as you know, as someone who ate a lot of soy when I was vegan, that also can contribute to the destruction of
and if we all stop eating beef, cows will die out.
It's not ideal, but I think we need to be thinking a lot more conscientiously.
But that's true, isn't it? If we stopped eating beef, cows would actually become extinct.
They wouldn't become extinct.
Yeah, because they can't survive alone.
When we invented the car, horses didn't become extinct. We just have far fewer.
We still breed horses for racing.
There are far fewer horses than there were.
We don't breed cows for racing. We won't need cows for racing or tracks.
But I wouldn't have a problem with WeWork hosting afternoon lunchtime sessions where they try to educate people about veganism or vegetarianism. I don't have a problem if you want to educate people into that and allow you to make a choice, fine. But telling people, no, you can't eat that.
On our money.
No, so, OK, so if I take a client out for dinner, so I'm trying to get a wine and diner landlord because I want to do a business deal with him, and we go to a restaurant and he wants a lasagna. Well, have I got to pay for his lasagna? Because or do I have to say to my client,
tell him, I can't
you can't.
Oh, how absurd. I can't get you a lasagna.
Like, if I still worked for The Guardian, which I don't anymore, I would have to explain something. I took them out. I can't order you champagne and expense it.
Do you know, we've had some bizarre debates over the last 2 years, but this has to be... if it wasn't for you, Afua, who would defend them?
This is so obvious to me. And Michelle, I knew this debate was coming when you tweeted a picture. Michelle tweeted a picture of a vegetarian sausage she was eating, and you know what? There are good vegetarian sausages.
Let me explain.
And there are bad vegetarian
and then I'll tell you some other stuff that companies are doing that is good. But I got on a train, and for the first time in my life, I thought I'm going to go for the veggie option.
That was a bad idea.
I got a sausage and some potatoes. I took a picture of it. I was about to take my first bite of it, and then there was an announcement: we've changed the destination of this train. It's now going to wherever. Everyone needs to get off. I didn't even have a bite of it.
But do you think
this day, I still not had a bite of a
Does anyone have a vegetarian sausage?
No,
vegetarian sausage.
But were the two connected somehow, the vegetarian sausage and the train being diverted?
No.
It seems to me there was someone up there telling you something.
Sounds like a blasphemy to order in the first place.